kids, welcome back to Roto Talk.
Kids, welcome back. It has been a little bit of a long time. Hope everybody is doing well. It's just been busy, hectic, and not a lot going on, honestly. That's kind of a contradiction in terms, isn't it? Busy and hectic and not a lot going on.
Take drugs, Danny?
Every day.
Good.
So anyway, the weather's been kind of shite. It's been kind of freezing cold. The main reason, I haven't been running hardly at all in the last few weeks. It has been so unbelievably windy here. You can maybe run a mono, but anything else is going to flip. So today I went out and I ran the old Foul Beast Cracker. This is our goose killer that we built on the channel, I think. We did this one. And this boat, as it turns out, I built it strictly for a channel build. That's all it was for. And never really ran it. I ran it for the channel. That was it. And now I use it for testing engines, mostly. And the damn thing flies. It's a super fast hull. And I have it set up like pretty much perfect. So I don't even touch the setup on the back. I just leave everything alone. And when I need to test an engine, I throw it in here. So yeah, I mean, it was meant to be kind of a funny boat because of the Foul Beast and all that play on words. So anyway, I thought today I was going to go out there and run it and test this engine out. My buddy, this is the old outboard. Not sure if I talked about the outboard. This is kind of a rambling video. The outboard, engine. The outboard, my steering went out, and on the last test, I fried the engine. That was my fault. I didn't fry it, but I messed it up. So I replaced the whole upper end, which is a pain in the ass. Went through all of that work, threw it in the water, and my servo fried.
Fuck! Don't look! Cover your eyes!
And I got so despondent and irritated, I said, fuck it, I'll deal with it next year. I'm not in love with that boat. I'm really not. The boat itself, the kit, is great. The Zip Kits kit to build, the design, the look, very mean looking boat. The outboard lower unit that I got from Lawless is fantastic. Great tool workmanship, great machining and everything else, but man, frustrating. I mean, great products, but altogether, I'll get it. I just honestly didn't have a hell of a lot of time this summer. And the time I did have, I just kind of wanted to run. I didn't want to fiddle fart around with that. And I did fiddle fart around with that outboard quite a bit. And most of it was off camera because I didn't want to look like a complete moron. Only partial moron on video.
You realize I've never been on board a ship before, sir.
Oh, don't let that frighten you.
So, long wind. It's been a while. Figure I'd talk to you. So anyhow, went out and ran this boat today, tested this engine. Worked pretty good for a minute. It's fine. It's a long story. That's not the point of this. The point of this video is to talk about winterizing, okay? Or long-term storage, however you want to play it. Now, there's a couple. The way I do it has been proven over the last. I've done it the same way for the last 5 to 7 years, and I have had really, 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 really good results. And what I mean by good results is I literally put gas in the boat, put an electric starter on it, boom, and it fires right up every year. Never a problem. So happy days. It works for me. I'm going to keep doing it this way. If you want to do it this way or have better ideas, put it down in the comments. It's a fairly simple, fairly straightforward thing. Now this boat, I literally just ran it like an hour ago. Still rather wet. I'm going to go through the process that I go through to long-term storage or winterize my boats. One thing I'm going to do a little bit differently this year, because I have to winterize everybody. Now, I'm still going to run until probably the lake is frozen. And it's only October 14th, so I got a ways to go. So I'm going to keep running, but there's certain boats I will not run. I'm going to run my crackers. I will probably run the skiff, and I'll probably run the Baron. The rest of them, anything that sinks or flips easy, probably not so much. I'm going to go ahead and kill, this one's getting retired here at some point in the game. So this year what I'm going to do when I winterize, I'm going to do a chuck and chat with this drag cat too, by the way. I haven't even run it this year. Literally has not been in the water. That's a waste. That's an awesome boat. This year I'm going to clean everything up, and I'm going to buy cheap beach towels off of Amazon and cover all the boats individually to keep the dust and the sanding, because hopefully I will be doing some builds this winter. Long-term storage here for me, or winterizing, is really, really good, because I do heat this shop during the day if I'm out here, if I'm going to be working out here. I do not keep it heated 24/7 in the winter. I turn the heater off at night. So if it's -10 outside, which northern Indiana doesn't take long to do, it gets very farting cold in here. So there's not much, leeway. So I'm just going to show you what I do. I don't take the engines out of the boats or anything to that nature. It's pretty straightforward process, okay? So the first thing I do is I literally will buy a bunch of these. You can buy these. Where did I get these? I think Gizmo Motors, or maybe even Amazon. This spark plug wrench with a Phillips. Okay. I think I buy them for $1, maybe $2. Oh, that's my phone. So, hey, shout out to George. You just text me. Anyway, these are $1 or $2. I love buying like 20 of these and just having them fucking everywhere. I have them down by the water. I have them punched into the sand. Because if you fill up your boat and you need to get the water out of it, it's really handy just to have these everywhere. And if you lose them, who gives a shit? Same thing with my crazy little screwdrivers that I use for doing carbs. I buy probably 2 bags of these. It's in my Amazon list. If you go to the bottom in the description of this video, there is a list of my Amazon stuff that I use. I don't know if it comes like 7 or 8 in a pack for like $2 or something. I buy zillions of these, and if I lose them, I don't care. They're everywhere. You find them in my yard. I hit them with the mower, right? So these are fun to use. All right. So I pop the plugs. All right. Now, like I said, this engine was just run. Now, if the plug needs it, a lot of times I will I will wire wheel the carbon off. This plug is in really, really good shape. I'm not going to worry about that. All right. And that's not winterizing. That's just kind of prepping for shit you don't want to do next year. Whatever. The other thing that I do is I take off my carb. Now, what I do, disconnect your fuel, empty your fuel bag, or if you're not going to run the boat again, throw it away, because it's going to be trashed by next year anyway. I do take off my throttle linkage like this, all right, and I leave it off. I never put it back on, even after I'm done winterizing. The reason I do that is because if you have a lot of boats, like I've actually thinned my herd. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, 12 or 13. If you have a lot of boats, like I do, and a very bad memory mixed with drinking, you don't know which ones you've winterized and which one you haven't. If my throttle's disconnected, I know I've winterized it. It's just my own little housekeeping thing that I do. So I take off the carb. Now, the best thing you can do with your life when it comes to RC boats is get rid of normal carb bolts and put in hex head carb bolts. Okay? Makes life so much easier. Then you get one of these little 5mm, or what is that? 8mm ratchet box end wrenches. God, it makes life so much easier for any boat you work on. Instead of using those button heads that strip out all the time, or just even normal Allens take forever. Alright. Should have done this off camera. But anyway. Ta-da! I take off my carb. Alright, take off the gasket. We are going to put this back on. Now, give me 1 second. Now, what I do, I buy WD-40 by the gallon. Alright? And I buy a spray bottle, and I make my own WD-40 spray bottles. It's much cheaper than buying it by the can. A can costs you $10 maybe. and you only get like that much actual fluid in it. You buy a gallon for $30. Buy yourself a spray bottle. I use WD-40 for everything. I clean all my lines with it. You name it. So the thing that I do, get yourself a Ziploc bag. Take that carburetor and put it in there. Okay. I do this every year. Now, if you're using ethanol-free gas, which you'd be amazed how many people don't. Sometimes I don't, believe it or not. Just depends on how much I'm running. But usually I try to. And you put that WD-40 in there. Like that. Then I take my ultrasonic cleaner. Put the bag in there. I have the heat on 50°C. And then I kick it on for 5 minutes. And you'll see the WD-40, see it bubbling? Okay. That is going to heat up all that WD-40. It's going to get inside all those gaskets, those seals. If there's any ethanol in there, it's going to just dissipate it. Same thing with any gas that's in there. And it will be safe to leave pickled like that all year. So that's nice. Now, or not all year, but, you know, till you run next. Now we're going to take these 5/8, 2 5/8. We're going to pull our shaft. Okay. Bear back. Wipe off our nice wet and greasy shaft. Okay. I'm going to turn off that. We'll let it cook. Now, the next thing I do, as far as the engine is concerned, this engine I screwed up. It's a long story. The pull start doesn't work. So, what I do with these, coming from the real boating world, which is where I'm from, okay? I was born and raised on a lake, as most of you know. As a kid, I worked at my uncle's marina, fixing boats and pumping gas as a little kid in the 80s, right? Grab my drink. So, what we used to do to winterize outboards back in those days, Johnson's, Evinrude's, Mercury's, the two-stroke ones back in the old days, we always fogged the engines, okay? Fogging oil. Now, I get this at Ace Hardware. You can probably get it. I would get it off Amazon. If you're in a lake region, like where I'm at, we have lakes, 100 freaking lakes around here. It's like Minnesota. You can get this at Ace Hardware. If you're in a normal area, Middle Ohio, something like that, you're probably not going to have fogging oil at your local Ace. You might. I don't know. Any auto parts store might have it, things of that nature. But really, simply, all I do is fill up the head. All right, so we're going to do, clog that up. Now, what I do with these, if you guys are used to nitro engines, or you've ever used a nitro engine, you always use after-run oil. Alright? This is a similar process. We're fogging the cylinder. And what you want to do is rotate that cylinder around. I'm going to be pulling this engine out anyway. This is kind of a moot point. That's alright. It's for demonstration purposes. Anyway, I literally do fill up the engine. Okay? Now, this thing's going to smoke like Cheech and Chong in the spring when you fire it up. I mean, you don't have to fill it up like fill, but I put a lot in there. Okay? Done. Also, I usually make it so it's at bottom dead center, the piston, for resting purposes. That's again a hangover from the nitro days. It's just what I do. You don't have to. Then I put my plug back in. Alright. Ta-da. Done. Alright. Then I bring, however you want to put this back in. Now, next thing we're going to do, I'll be right back. We take our carburetor. Okay. Nice, and it looks nice and clean. Look at that. And it does clean it. I mean, it looks like it's brand new now that it was in the bath. And then just reseal this bag of WD-40 and keep it for carbs. You can use a glass or plastic jar with WD-40 in it, and put the whole jar in the ultrasonic cleaner. It'll work the same way. You don't have to use a bag. All right. Okay. So now, put our carburetor back on. I usually thread lock these back in, but this, like I said, I'm going to be pulling this engine totally down, putting a new crank in it here probably later this week. Right, so, oops. Okay. So this is just for looks. I'm going to pull this off. So you would normally tighten that all the way up. Okay. Now, hang on. The next thing I do, take a balloon. That's what we use for our receivers, right? I buy these by the bag of 500 on Amazon. Because I use these balloons. A, I have two little girls who are always asking for friggin' balloons. And number two, I use them for receivers, as you guys have seen many times. But I also use them for winter capping of my carburetor. There you go. Keeps the dust out. Perfect. That is done. Next thing I do, now, so if your pull start is working, which mine is not, what I would do, you got that oil in there, I would definitely put that fogging oil in there, rotate it, pull it a few times with the plug out, get that fogging oil really juiced up in there, okay? Now, the next thing that I do is I will take our fancy schmancy la-di-da. Special shout out to all the guys in our Discord group, all my boys. Everybody's probably drinking by now. Oh, I am. Okay. You don't have to use this zip strip thing, but you probably can take off the prop. Now, in the case of our ultra sonic cleaner, we put our shaft in there. Done. Now, the reason I do that, boat shafts are wound. Okay? They're a spring, essentially, with a core. You don't have to do what I'm doing right now. You can literally just take some WD-40 in a rag and clean off that, clean off the grease. I throw them in that ultrasonic cleaner. Now, what I use in my ultrasonic cleaner is hot water. I always keep the heater on in there, and I use Dawn dish soap. It's a great degreaser. Fucking works great. And then what that does is that heats up the grease that's in all those. Oh, that was really long. Bink. Heats up the grease. The Dawn really, with the ultrasonic, it really aggravates the grease, cleans it out really well. It just keeps it from getting all gummy and gross. That's really about it. The other thing you can do if you're really, really anal, which I am not, you can technically get all the old grease out of your shaft. I'm not really sure why you would. I don't do that, but whatever, okay? The next thing we're going to do, simply put, is you would normally ditch your fuel bag. I will take mine out. I got to send those 3D prints to those guys that emailed me. Son of a bitch. Bad memory. Make sure, for radio box, not a hell of a lot you have to do. I do leave these. This is a JJ Rotogeek box. I do leave these uncovered in case there's moisture in them, like in this case there is. You do not want to leave this covered up if it's damp all winter, because it will grow mold, and that would be a bad day at the zoo. The other thing you can do, where is it? This stuff. Okay. Electrical contact cleaner. Best shit in the world, right? I do a lot of electronic stuff. Evaporates instantly, okay? You can, it'll take the water with it. It's hydroscopic, right? If you want to. The other thing that is kind of nice to do when this is disconnected, you could take the shaft out, squirt some WD-40 down there, because this does rust. I don't really worry about it a whole hell of a lot. In this case, I just need to pull my battery, which is being painful right now. There we go. And just leave that as is. Put your cover back on your boat, whatever. So, I'm going to pull out our shaft. Now, this probably could have gone longer. It's okay. You can already see it's like super clean. You don't have, like I said, you don't have to do that. But if you have an ultrasonic cleaner, it's nice. Might as well use it, right? And I just leave the shaft in there. That way I know this boat's been done, like I said. Got the carbs in there, everything else. Make sure that you don't have to make sure the boat's dry. All the boats in here are dry, except for this one. And that's about it. Wipe it down, obviously, if you want to. The best thing to clean a boat out, like this exhaust dust, it's not really dust, but schmutz or whatever, and you guys have heard me do this in many videos. Spray some WD-40 on your paper towel, rub it down your lines, takes the gunk right off of them, like instantly. But it'll also take the soot and grime out of the boat too. It's really, really good. I like my WD-40. That's really about it. I do sometimes lubricate all the joints here. The other thing that I do, this is important, believe it or not, your boots. That was dumb. Sorry. I didn't put a boot on this rudder, but there's a boot right here. But if you're using boots, okay, you know what I'm talking about, for your linkages, always lubricate them. If you can reach them, take WD-40 or take some kind of lubricant with a straw if possible, or if you can inject it and shoot it into the boot. Okay, right there, and then take some WD-40 or Vaseline on your fingers and rub the outside of the boot. They will dry rot every year or so. It's the best thing you can do. So those little needle bottles that I use for shit, I don't think I have any. Yeah, here's one. This is super glue, so I'm not gonna use it, but they usually have a needle sticking out of them. Stick one of those full of WD-40, stick the needle into these boots, fill it up on the inside, then squirt a little bit on the outside, and you won't have to replace your boots hardly ever. I guarantee you, if you don't, they will dry rot, and you will be replacing them, and that's a pain in the ass in some cases. So that is another thing I always do. Another thing that I do a lot of times is I will take Vaseline. Ken and Matt in the group, you know all about Vaseline, on a brush, one of your little disposable epoxy brushes, and brush Vaseline on these boots, on these Vibra mounts here. This one you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it. See, it's cracking right there? Same thing, dry rot. The reason it dry rots, it gets hotter than piss in there when you're running an engine, and you get gas on them all the time, and it just takes its toll on rubber. Okay, if you can keep this stuff lubed up, it shields it and keeps it from dry rotting. Anything that's rubber on your boat, even the belts sometimes. These are usually okay. But yeah, that's usually your best bet. And that's really about it. And then you kind of reverse everything for spring. We'll do a boat freshen up in the spring. But aside from that, that's really about it. So, if you have any questions, please shoot me an email. I'm really bad at checking the comments on the YouTube thing. Email's probably your best bet. I only check it once or twice a week, to be honest. So bear with me. If you want to join our Discord group, shoot me an email and just ask, and I'll shoot you a link. And if you're got a good sense of humor, you love RC, anything, doesn't have to be just boats. It really doesn't. And we got a great group of guys, and we just pal around all day, every day, here and there. It's a good time. So if you want to join that, we learn a lot, we laugh a lot, we unload. It's fun. So anyway, keep the dry side up, kids. We'll be doing some boat runs this week. I want to get some running in while the weather's still decent. Maybe some chuck and chats and just some goofing around. So until then, keep dry side up. Bye.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Nothing touches me. I'm a walking razor blade.